from them and had access to all their computers, Imran Awan has pled guilty to bank fraud. And the weird thing that I'm going to address right off the bat is the claim of bank fraud and why he pled guilty to it. Awan pleaded guilty to making a false statement on a loan application, and prosecutors said they uncovered no evidence that Awan violated federal law with respect to the House computer systems. Okay. Well, I'm glad that they cleared that up. There's nothing to see here. You guys can all just go home. There's nothing to really talk about here. I mean, if you didn't know anything at all about this case prior to this story, then it seems like it's just game over, because they even say, particularly, the government has found no evidence that your client illegally removed House data from the House network or from House members' offices, stole the House Democratic Caucus server, stole or destroyed House information technology equipment, or improperly accessed or transferred government information, including classified or sensitive information. But we know that they're lying, or at the very least skewing definitions and terminologies and using careful wordplay. I mean, Awan not only removed Debbie Wasserman Schultz's congressional laptop, but he left it in a phone booth, which was later discovered by Capitol Police, which you'll see why later on why that's relevant. And he was purposely charged with a minor crime of bank fraud that occurred 6 months prior to anything else, with the sole purpose of just trying to make the case just go away. And it was also kind of to prevent Democratic congressional members from having to testify. I mean, that's why it was just this pitiful little unrelated bank fraud charge. And it's why he even reached a plea deal at all. I mean, not to mention Lee Stranahan, who's a journalist that was present at the courthouse today, said Awan's plea deal said he cannot be charged with any previous nonviolent crime. And on top of this, we saw Manafort get charged with bank fraud. I mean, that was the special counsel working on that, and they had the full resources of Mueller's team, and they had numerous people to investigate. Granted, there were numerous people in the Awan case also, but you'll find out later on they didn't investigate most of them, or many of the relevant people, I should say. And in the Manafort case, they had no real starting point, because whenever they didn't find something that linked back to Trump, they just keep digging further back until they're looking at 2005, 2006 financial records, when the whole point of the special counsel was Russian interference in the 2016 election. But the starting ground for the Awan investigation was much more firm, and he was the only real focus. But we're supposed to believe that he reached a plea deal on bank fraud after a year, but Manafort couldn't reach one. We're supposed to believe that Awan is being treated just as anyone else. But that's not the case. If this was anyone else, they'd be locked up by now, but not Awan. And I have a feeling it's because he knows information on topics that they never even investigated, okay? Everyone saying that this destroys any, conspiracy theory doesn't actually know the details of the case, okay? The claims made by people that the media is just all too happy to brand as conspiracy theorists weren't even investigated. They never interviewed key witnesses. There were a lot of key witnesses that were just never investigated. And they never dug into why Capital City Police made no arrests, but then gave evidence to defense attorneys that was supposed to go to the prosecutors. They never investigated why the House IG said Democratic IT aides made unauthorized access to servers. And on top of that, they never investigated why those IT aides were Imran Awan and all of his friends and family. Okay, the indictment was handed down last August, before I even really started this channel. And they even admit the charges don't have a direct relationship to their work in congressional offices, meaning that it wasn't a focal point in the public eye. All of this is connected, and the fact that no mainstream outlet, no semi-mainstream leftist outlet like WAPO, the fact that they didn't even bother to mention any of this is very telling. They were just so focused on the superficial claims made in the decision, but if they actually knew the details of the case, then it would raise red flags in their own heads, but it either didn't or they just suppressed it. And the big question that I still have to ask that doesn't really require you to know much about anything about Awan beyond just what I've said in this video is why would they go through all of this for bank fraud? Why would there be suspected leaks from prosecutors and the mishaps by Capital City Police? That they completely ignore the fact that Awan left Wasserman Schultz's congressional laptop in a phone booth and Capital City Police took control of it. It seems like it was a way for him to drop information in exchange for amnesty from federal prosecutors, and on top of that, to appease the mainstream media's just unquenched thirst for stories that support their own narrative. I mean, this is really a story that's just going to muddy the waters. And I have a feeling that this will be a repeat of when Trump said Obama was spying on him and CNN was like, that's not true. Crazy old Trump pushing his conspiracy theories and his lies. And then like a week later, they had to come out and say, oh, I guess Obama was wiretapping Trump. Which, keep in mind, has still led to nothing. Even though the House Intelligence Committee majority released that memo detailing FISA court abuses and FBI misconduct and all of that. And it warrants an investigation, but still, don't forget about Huber, the federal prosecutor from Utah, appointed to handle claims of FBI misconduct from the IG report, but that's what it's claimed he's doing, okay? He has 470 staffers helping him, and there's over 40,000 sealed indictments. I don't know who's in those indictments, but I can tell you one thing. It's far more than normal, and with the way that things seem to be playing out, I'm not entirely convinced that the fight against the swamp is anywhere near over for either side. I mean, we're a long ways from victory, and there's a lot that needs to happen still, and all of it might not happen. We might only get some of what we're looking for. But the swamp is certainly not inching closer to gaining control. I mean, it's completely within the realm of possibility that this bank fraud charge is a delay tactic until other indictments can be unsealed and Awan can become a prosecution witness. So I'll keep you updated on the story, but don't think for a second that this is the final say and it's just dead in the water. There's a lot more to come of this, and Awan being charged with bank fraud and reaching a plea deal is more telling than the average person or media pundit currently realizes. And the prosecutors say they thoroughly investigated the conspiracy allegations. Like, I'm not just refusing to see that. And I realize that they interviewed like 40 witnesses, but then you find out that the investigation was conducted by the Capital City Police and the FBI. Two groups that I don't trust because of their lying past. But that's really all for this video. I appreciate the support, even with the constant barrage of fake news just dividing people and making America all that much more difficult to pull out of the ruins because of the leftist sleeper cells suddenly waking up at the sound of Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon's cackle. So be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe.